All right, day after Christmas, and happy Boxer's Day to anybody who celebrates. Thank you for joining to another Smart AI Communities meetup and discuss artificial intelligence, which is a favorite topics for me and hopefully for everybody else. So if you're listening in, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us again. And we have a few things to discuss this week because on a post I made, I talked about that I will be giving a brief about 2024 lessons learned and three topics that I really want to emphasize for going forward in 2025. 2025 is going to be radically different and just guaranteed it's going to be radically different from 2024, even 2022, with all things happening with ChatGPT and digital transformation since 2023. Because there was a lot of interest that came up in 2023. 2024 has been a wild ride, but a good one in a positive way. But 2025 is going to have just a lot of ups and downs. A lot of the areas are going to dry up. A lot of the areas are really going to flourish because of the infrastructure availability. Infrastructure is a giant problem in AI space, and if you're thinking about AI at all, and if you see it from a surface level, infrastructure is what's going to be the causing a lot of these problems, just like it has for the last 100 years. Infrastructure is a point that halts all the AI progress. So 2025 will be dramatically different than 2024, but good and bad will literally become white and black, right? So let's get into it, but let's start off with something that I would like to say before I walk you through what I've learned in 2024. Right. So there's a story behind what we have learned for as long as the internet has been around. Right. The internet, for as long as it has been around, there's always been two sides to it. Right. So if you want to measure that to the spectrum of the internet, there's this. Let me get off the screen here. So the internet as a whole, only 5% of the internet is actually visible to the majority of the users. Majority of the users mean if you have access to internet and you are using internet, most likely you fall into that 5% of the internet use cases. The rest of 95%, which includes the dark web, 95% is nothing that you can access unless somebody gives you access to it, unless somebody really, you're employed by somebody. Let's just call it that, right? You have access to it because you require that internet for your job purposes. So that 95%, a small portion of that is dark web. So that means that there's this two side of the internet. One is visible and one is just completely dark. And the rest in the middle is sort of like no man's land, right? You don't really need to be there unless you've been told to be there. So let's move that analogy forward into the cloud space, right? And this is where I'm going to kind of give you a glimpse into what's coming down in 2025. If you're supposed to be in the cloud and you have done the math and you can see a clear understanding of cloud being beneficial to you, you should be in the cloud. Not everybody should be in the cloud. That's what I'm trying to get at, right? Because cloud is not made for everybody. Cloud is not beneficial to everybody. So there's a lot of these exits happening, which is a very small portion of the cloud users are actually exiting the cloud space because by the time the cloud has matured, it really matured to the point that now it costs 2.5%, 2.5 multiplied the original estimated number of cloud usage, amount of benefit the cloud was supposed to save. Now it costs more, 2.5 times more. That's what I was trying to get at, right? It costs 2.5 times more to have cloud now than it did back in 10 years ago when it first kind of took off, right? So there's a lot of exits that are happening, repatriations that's happening outside of the cloud space. So what that means in a spectrum, there is that probably a good small percentage of people that needs to be in the cloud and can benefit from cloud. But on the other side, there's a lot of exits that are happening, which is a very small number. There's two analogies I'm using about the internet and the cloud to kind of walk you through what I'm going to talk about with AI, right? Because we have learned two lessons already, which is that internet is good and bad. Cloud, if you need to be in it, be in it. But if you don't, you really need to know because you're thinking ahead of time. What it what does it mean to be in the cloud when it comes to reading and writing that benefits you, yet everything else consumes your opex and capex, and of course dollar is dollar, doesn't matter what kind of money it is, it's still going to cost you a lot more than what it will cost you to stay out of cloud, right? And in the AI space, you have to learn from these two lessons and move forward in 2025 and say, if I was to pull a trigger, if I was the person responsible for these budgets and make decisions on these budgets, this is what I have to measure, not necessarily what's available today, adaptation wise, but as I go to the phase, am I going to have an exit down the road from this AI? Right? I think it's better to say there is no exit from AI. Rather, I develop the AI in a way that I never have to exit it. Period. Right. So all things possible with AI, you really have to think about the infrastructure. You have to think about the cost of it. Is it interoperable? Is it scalable? Right? KISS, KISS. Keep it interoperable, scalable, and sustainable. That sustainable part of it, the last piece of it, we've learned our lessons very, very early on from everything that we have dealt with in IT space. AI is no different, but with AI, it gets a little bit more complex because of this inability to control the cost of AI, inability to cost of accessing this infrastructure, and inability to maintain that AI in a deployed environment, right? Life with AI versus life without AI is two different story. We really need to think through if there was to be an exit strategy, can we exit? If there was no exit strategy, how do we scale it, even if it's sustainable, right? Because it's sustainable doesn't mean that's all it is. Just as a single stream of line, and that's where AI starts and ends. It's always is growing exponentially, and you just have to, because that's the reason you spend so much money and so much energy into this AI topic. So what am I getting here with this? So this team alignment community of practice, right? It's really is the most important 2024 takeaway from all the experience I've had, is to have a community practice. Community practice means within your team, small business, big business, medium-sized business, nonprofit, government, community that is like, just education based or whatever the case is, you have to have a community practice. What that means is that it goes back to that scalability piece, right? The scalability means that if you have new latest tools that comes in that allows you to scale, and you're the only person that's in that AI team, and you're not able to keep up with the news because the news in AI space changes every 24 hours, every hour looks like. And because in the last 12 days of Christmas, OpenAI released 12 different offerings, right? So these kind of community practice, you really need to set it up in a way that you're able to take advantage of 5, 6 people that you can rely on in order to update the informations that you need in order to scale your system. Because interoperability happens within your business ecosystem, but in order to scale, you really need something that is. Let me go ahead and share my screen so it's visible here. So you really have that interoperability within your business, but you're able to bring in the scalable systems from outside, outsource it, and develop your sustainable methods of AI in a deployed environment, in a production environment. So this community practice, it's not necessarily something that is expensive either, right? It could be just that you have a team of 10 people, but you have an alignment understanding of artificial intelligence and machine learning, what needs to happen, and you guys have an alignment workshop preferably to work through what it is that you need going forward for that community practice on a weekly basis. And then you have your learner system or fail, right? I say that cheekishly because it kind of goes back to the days of high school, days of going to universities or colleges, where if you have lots of knowledge, that's what we had for hundreds of years at this point, right? Internet and cloud is a knowledge system. But if you're not thinking about a knowledge system moving into the learner system, a learner system is what AI is, right? If you're not thinking about a learner system, you will have a major cause of disruption, because if you don't have a learner system, your learner system will literally implicate that your system never really matured. It always stagnated. It always was something that you cannot scale, right? So those are indicators of learner systems that you have to really think through. And community practice is a great way to understand what is a learner system and what is not a learner system. So some of the questions that you can ask us in a Smart AI community. We meet weekly basis. We talk about learner system. We talk about learner system in a way that will enable you to have confidence in what sort of steps you have to take to have your learner system be active and continuously are able to process data in most sustainable way, right? Keep the cost low as possible because, like I said, not everybody needs to be in the cloud, but if you are in cloud, there's ways to do it in the cloud space that's not going to break your bank. Um, Dust settling in 2024, it has happened already. The plateau large language model training is causing lots of news out there. So, if you have any questions on these topics, we will talk more on these specifics to the numbers. But you have to ask us in real time because as you do ask us in real time, you're able to find those insights and a breakdown of these insights into pieces the way you need it. Because everybody has a business, everybody has a problem. It's just that nobody has your problem. So when you speak it in your problem language, we're able to articulate that to you the way you need it. So join us in a Smart AI community, comment here, and look forward to having you soon. Have a good, happy new year, and see you next year.